Hello, I'm Roy Harryman with Kansas City Hiker, and I am joined by Chris Blunk, District Supervisor of multiple counties in the Kansas City area with the Missouri Department of Conservation. And our topic today is something like don't get blown away, live to hike another day. In other words, we're going to be talking about safety while you're hiking during hunting season. Chris, thank you for sharing your insights with us today.
Sure. Thank you for having me.
Well, I just mentioned here that our goal is to keep hikers safe during hunting season. But as I was doing some preparation for this, I realized it's always hunting season of some sort, or another. It's amazing how many
Yes.
different, for the uninitiated, how many different seasons there are. I just was going through alphabetically: bear, badger, bobcat, bullfrog, and on and on. But
Yes.
but not all of them obviously present equal threats. In your view, what are the key seasons for people who are using the conservation areas? Perhaps they're
Sure.
fishing or hiking. What are the key seasons to be aware of?
Sure. And I want to start off by saying kind of how you worded that. To me, having hunters in the woods is not a threat to the hikers. We
Mm-hmm.
do have hunting seasons on our conservation areas, and there are more uh, hunting seasons that have more of a draw to them. And one of the first ones, of course, is our firearm deer season. That's probably by far the most heavily utilized season that we have on our conservation areas. And that's typically always used about the same time, mid-November. This year in 2024, it's November 16th through the 26th. So that one is, of course, very popular. That brings a lot of hunters into the woods for the opportunity to harvest a deer. And probably our most second common one is spring turkey season.
Okay.
That one is really popular. You know, people have been cooped up all winter. They really want to get out outdoors. And the same time for hikers too. You know, hikers are out and about that time of year, and that's usually always mid May to about the first week of mid April to the first week of May. So it's a 3 week season usually, and those are our two heaviest seasons as far as hunters in the woods. When we also have a lot of hikers out there as well. And of course, like you said, there's all kinds of different seasons we can go into. You know, archery deer season and all that. But those are probably the two main ones that bring the most people at the woods in a short amount of time.
Depending on where you go, you may be completely oblivious that it's rifle deer season, for example,
Sure.
if it's a more of a remote location. I remember not being very conscious of this. And I was actually with my family and kids. We went out to Cooley Lake, and like I was not paying any attention. It was like right in the middle of rifle deer season,
Oh yes.
and so we got there by like 4 or 5 o'clock and pulled in, and we didn't really get very far. But I noticed like dozens of people descending
Yes.
with guns, and it almost kind of looked like where Daffy Duck is set up in some of the Bugs Bunny cartoons, where he pops up and there's 30 guns around him.
Yeah.
And so we're like, hey, you know what? Not the best time to hike. Let's go. So, what do we need to know and be aware of during this time?
What one thing that I want you to be aware of too is during that arch or during the firearm deer season, hunters, it is a requirement during that season that they wear hunter orange. So the hunter should be visible from a distance. I mean, that's the whole point of wearing hunter orange, so it's safe. So if you do have a concern while you're a hiker, the best thing to wear is hunter orange. I mean, it definitely draws a hunter's eye to where you can be seen from a distance. That's safety first. And also one key thing too is during deer season is the most popular times to be out in the deer woods is when there's that peak deer movement. Is usually, you know, the first couple hours in the morning and then the first couple hours right before sunset. So as a hiker, if you want to get out in the woods during that time, you're gonna cause less disturbance to the hunters as well as have less probably interactions with hunters if you avoid those peak times of hunting. I mean, we'll have hunters out there throughout the day, don't get me wrong, but those are the peak times when people, you know, that peak deer movement first thing in the morning and late in the afternoon when they get off work and go out and try to harvest a deer. So if you can avoid those times, you're going to be a little bit better off. And same way with spring turkey season. You know, spring turkey season in Missouri right now, it stops at 1 o'clock on public land. It'll go all day on private land. So if you can hike after 1 o'clock, you can pretty much avoid the spring turkey season.
That is very good to know. I did not realize that. So yeah, if you're on public land, afternoons should be, relatively safe.
Yeah. And also, I mean, a lot of times if you're on a lot of our conservation areas, of course, have field access roads and stuff like that. If you kind of maintain yourself to those roads, I mean, a lot of the deer hunters will get off the beaten path and kind of try to go to where the deer are going to be less disturbed. So if you can avoid those less accessible areas, stay to the trails, stick on them. You're going to be a lot better off as well.
Right. And I think most people just for sheer trying to avoid the number of, burrs and things that they have to pick off their clothes later,
Sure.
stay,
Yes.
stay on the
Yes.
service roads or the
Yes.
maintained trails. Given what you've shared here, is it very unusual for there to be any kind of injuries during deer season where what hunter accidentally hits another hunter or someone is out fishing or hiking?
Well, I have been managing public lands for over 25 years, and I am not aware of any instance where we have had an accident to a non-hunter during any of the hunting seasons. Of course, most hunting accidents are self-inflicted or something like that, but I've never, in my 25 plus years, have known a non-hunter being hurt during a hunting season on public lands that I've managed. So yeah, I mean, we do have interactions with hunters and hikers and stuff, and most of the time it's just like, hey, I'm out here hunting, and then they go their separate ways and everything's fine. But no, I've never heard of so it is safe. We try to avoid those instances, but yeah, it's perfectly safe in my opinion.
Given the guidelines that you've shared here, knowing when to go, what to wear, what areas to stay in, is it reasonably safe, even say in the deer rifle season, for hikers to use a conservation area?
It absolutely is, but my recommendation would be on especially Kansas City has such a large urban population, and those hunters tend to go to some of our closer conservation areas. So my recommendation is in the Kansas City area, we have a lot of opportunity on conservation areas that do not allow firearm deer season. So it would be my recommendation, because that hunting season is such a short period of time, is try to avoid the areas that allow rifle deer hunting. One is we want our hunters to have the most success possible on a conservation area, to have the opportunity to harvest a deer. And anybody out in the woods during that time is going to disrupt that opportunity. When you have an opportunity, you could be, have not disrupt the hunter and have a better opportunity on an area that's not open to the firearm deer season. So that would be my opinion. Of course, they are public areas. They're open to anybody at all times, equal opportunity. But I think you're going to have a better time. You're going to have less worry about it. And the hunters are going to, enjoy their time better without having to deal with people interrupting them. So we have plenty of opportunity in the Kansas City area to avoid conservation areas that are allow firearm deer hunting. So that'd be my advice.
That's a great clarification.
The best thing I would recommend is I don't know if you're familiar with this book. It's the Fall 24. This one's Fall Deer and Turkey. Anybody can pick up one of these where they sell permits, or this is on our website, mdc.mo.gov. And on the back of this has all the deer seasons in Missouri that's going on this fall. But this is a great reference for if you want to avoid the deer seasons. This also has a list of all the conservation areas and what methods are allowed for deer opportunities. So it will tell what conservation areas allow firearm deer hunting, which ones allow archery only, and which one, if they're not in the booklet, means they don't allow deer hunting at all. Or it'll list the managed hunts on what conservation areas have managed hunts and what period of time, so you can avoid those dates as well.
Chris, you were just talking about, for those in the Kansas City area, being more wise, especially during rifle season, to go to some of the more inner ring conservation areas where only bow hunting and then in some cases no hunting is allowed. So, for example, it's been my experience. I'm in Lee Summit, so I spend a lot of time at Bridger and James A. Reed, and as I understand it, those are bow hunting only places.
James A. Bridger is archery only. Yes, James A. Reed has managed hunts, so it's only archery hunting during certain seasons, and then they have a short window of a muzzleloader hunt. And at that point during that muzzleloader hunt, they shut down the entire area to other uses. So they don't allow hikers in during that time, to try to provide less interaction with hunters and hikers and provide those hunters the best opportunity, because it is such a short window. And that's the same way. Another popular one in the Kansas City area, of course, is Burr Oak Woods. That's another one that it does have a managed archery hunt. The area is open during that archery hunt. Hikers can still go out there and hike, but then they do have a weekend where there is a managed, it's a shotgun hunt for beginner hunters. And at that hunt, they shut down the entire area. It's just a two-day hunt. And this year it's October 19th and 20th. So you won't be able to access the area at that point anyway. But yeah, those are some of the most popular ones that have a managed hunt that we do shut down the area a little bit for that reason.
Yeah, and that's great to know because I mean, essentially, if you aren't in the know and you pull up, you'll see the signs, and
Yes.
yeah, your decision will be made for you, so you don't have to
Yes.
worry about it.
And my recommendation too is if you pull up and see a sign that the area is closed, is please abide by that and not drive around it. Continue to go on in.
Yes, yes, for your own self-preservation, right?
Yes,
Yes.
please.
And
Yes.
and not to also, frustrate the people who have waited all year for this season. So
Absolutely. Yes.
are there any Kansas City locations that don't have really any hunting, whether managed or bow?
Absolutely. Some of the most common ones that we have are Walnut Woods, Rush Creek, Maple Woods in Clay County. Those are smaller conservation areas, very urbanized, but they do have some hiking trails and walking trails on it, and there's no hunting allowed in those. We have White Aloe Creek in Platte County is a good one that has trails, and then we have Sager Woods, which is tied to Jerry Smith Park with the county. So those areas do not allow hunting. But another great reference is if you get on our website, mdc.mo.gov, and click on places to go, you can list the county. It'll pull up all the conservation areas or places that we help manage in that area, and it'll tell you whether they allow hunting or not. So what I gave you is just kind of the list of most of our conservation areas in there, but there's all kinds of opportunities out there that in other parts of the area that you can find on our website.
Well, this is a great education for people who enjoy the outdoors. So extremely helpful. A related question is, so I'll post about different areas that are conservation areas or border, and I'll get a fair amount of comments, people concerned about safety, and I appreciate that. I mean, I'd rather someone be concerned than reckless, but is it possible to be overly concerned and perhaps exaggerate the danger or the risk? So, for example, I posted about walking the Katy Trail in an area that was adjacent to a conservation area that was restricted to bow hunting, and someone commented, "Hey, watch out, you'll get taken out," and it just seemed like it would be like almost a Ripley's Believe It or Not incident for an arrow from a conservation area to strike me down on the Katy Trail.
Sure. And like I said earlier, I've been managing public land for over 25 years, and I've never known of an instance of a non-hunter getting hurt by a hunter. What most people probably don't realize is archery hunters are very, they're dressed in camouflage. They're usually up in a tree or in a blind. They're out there enjoying nature just like the hiker is. They want to be successful at a hunt or just be out there and enjoy the outdoors. They're not out there to cause harm. They're not out there. They have to positively ID their targets. They have restrictions on whether they can harvest an antlerless deer, or we have antler point restrictions in some locations where they have to count the antlers, points on one side of a deer. So the majority of hunters are very observant of what their target is. I mean, that's hunting 101, is be sure of your target before firing. So you can always be concerned and you can always be conscious of what may happen. But in my knowledge, it's a hunter has never hurt another non-hunter on conservation public land that I've managed in my 25 plus years. And another thing, I mean, archery hunters too, if we're talking archery hunter, most archery hunters, some of our areas do have restrictions where they have to stay away from, say, trails by so many feet, or they have to be away from the property line by so many feet. So if you stay on a designated trail, or, most likely you won't even know the archery hunters are there. They're going to be away. They're going to be where the deer are at. They're going to be kind of tucked up where they can enjoy their time too, because they know the area is public. They don't want, a hiker disrupting their time in the woods as well. Just like the hiker doesn't want the bow hunter to interrupt their time in the woods. So they're out in a secluded area. They're out there and you may not even know they're there. You'll walk right on past them and then, get back to your vehicle and everything will be fine.
That's good news. Well, we don't want to see the 25 years without an accident string broken. So
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Hunters wearing orange is a request. Hikers wearing orange also helpful.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the more visible you are, of course, and that's really great for the firearm deer season, because bullets travel a lot farther than the arrow does. So if a hunter is shooting at a deer, they need to know that they got a good backstop and what's beyond that. If they see orange beyond that target, they're going to know it's not safe. Archery is not as bad because an arrow is not going to travel as far as a rifle. So normally, like I said, they're up in a tree or at an elevated thing to where their arrow is going to be stuck in the ground. It's not going to hurt to wear orange during any of the seasons, whether it's squirrel, rabbit, anything, because you are visible. You make yourself visible, and they'll know that you're a person. Just be aware, be alert, and things like that. So always recommend it, of course, but firearm deer season is the one I would definitely recommend any firearm deer season, whether it's antlerless firearm, hunter orange is what I would definitely recommend. Okay. Or bright colors in general, something that can be seen, especially you're out there in low light conditions, early mornings, late evenings, which I would try to avoid. But that's when, the darkness can kind of play tricks on your eyes and stuff. And that way you're a lot more visible.
Very helpful. Any other suggestions that you would give to hikers, others who are enjoying the conservation areas when it's a peak season?
Sure. I mean, just be aware, of course, but just go enjoy yourself. Like I said, it's very rare to where an accident's going to happen. Just stick to trails, wear your orange, just kind of the things we've talked about. It's just because I really don't see it as a concern for hikers and hunters interacting. I mean, we have it every day on our conservation areas. Hunters know it's public areas. Hunters know that they're going to have hikers, so they're cautious of that, just like the hikers are cautious of the hunters, and they're very supportive of everybody being on the area. So, like I said, we've never really had any issues. Just go out and enjoy.
Very good to know, Chris. If somebody wants to follow up and learn more, what's the best way for them to do that?
Our website is a wealth of information. Like I said, mdc.mo.gov. If you click on places to go, it lists all the conservation areas, and you can do advanced search on hiking. It'll tell you what seasons, what hunting's allowed on certain conservation areas, or what our conservations even offer. Our website is just full of information. Or you can stop at any of our offices. We have the regional office at James A. Reed. We have the Burr Oak Woods Nature Center, and just go talk to staff. I mean, our staff are very personable. We're out there to educate the public. We want everybody to get out and enjoy the great outdoors with us on our conservation areas. So yeah, just reach out anytime.
Well, thank you. We have been joined by Chris Blunk, a district supervisor in the greater Kansas City area for the Missouri Department of Conservation on hunting safety. And the good news is we can all get along. We can coexist if we use our brains and we're a little bit alert. So if you need to know more about hiking in the Kansas City area, visit kansascityhiker.com and check out our database of trails.